Good evening. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Planning Commission for January 4th. It is now 5:33. If we could have a roll call, please.
Commissioner Fonda Bernardi?
Here.
Commissioner Fresco?
Here.
Commissioner Lambert?
Here.
Commissioner Landris?
Here.
Commissioner Tolkien?
Here.
Commissioner Raskin?
Here.
And Chair Reese.
Here. Thank you very much for that. We'll move on to our first agenda, item 1A, which is Director's Report.
Good evening, Planning Commission. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Coming up at your next meeting, which is a week from tonight, will be the Planning Commission formal recommendation on housing element implementation. And then the next week, January 18th, conditional use permit for a new project at 3016 Main Street. And then a recommendation to City Council on a private outdoor space. These are the parking lots and courtyards and other areas that are being used by restaurants and other businesses. So making that ordinance permanent. City Council actions, really nothing to report since our last meeting. And then upcoming items at City Council on January 10th is the extension of the state density bonus interim zoning ordinance for waivers for 100% affordable housing projects within a half-mile of major transit. And that applies everywhere except the Pico neighborhood. And then January 24th will be a study session on the public process to determine the future of the Santa Monica Airport. So this is really just laying out what a process will look like for imagining what would happen at the airport. This is not getting into any ideas for land use or anything else. It's really just talking about the process. That concludes my report. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, I see Commissioner Lambert with a question for you.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of conflicting things, and I haven't listened to the City Council meeting where they talked about the height increases, the development standard waivers, what have you, for projects except those in Pico. Can you elaborate on that?
I'm sorry, you're talking about the IZO or?
Yeah, exactly.
And the
What
fact that they didn't include Pico.
What is it, basically?
Jing, do you want to give a little more explanation on that?
So this is basically a very narrowly applicable IZO. It applies to 100% affordable housing projects within a half-mile of major transit stops. This is basically, there is a provision in state law that allows the city to basically opt in to allowing 100% affordable housing projects that, because they're within half-mile of major transit stops under state density bonus law, they may request unlimited density. They may request up to 3 stories and 33 feet. There's no minimum parking requirements, but under previous versions of state density bonus law, it basically said they were not eligible for any waivers. But there have been recent changes since that says a local jurisdiction can create an allowance, to basically opt into allowing those waivers. So that is the action the council took for the interim zoning ordinance. But they did carve out Pico neighborhood, which is a defined area within the zoning ordinance. It's in our development review section. We're talking about the Pico neighborhood plan as an example. They did exclude that geographic area of the city from the additional allowance for waivers.
So is this basically AB 1763 2.0 that we're putting into law?
It's like it's not putting it into law because we're already doing it. It's just basically allowing those kinds of projects to also request waivers, which previously they were not allowed.
Well, how can we accept Pico if it's state law?
No. So under state law, you don't have to allow it. You can. A city can allow it. You're not required to allow it.
But a 100% project could still get the additional 33 feet in Pico, right?
Yes. Yeah. That it doesn't prevent that. All the exclusion is in Pico is projects to request additional waivers. So they still get the unlimited density. They still get the extra 3 stories and 33 feet. They still get their 4 incentives and concessions.
I got it.
They're just not allowed to ask for additional waivers.
I got it. Thank you.
Great. Any other commission questions of the director? I see one, Commissioner Landris.
Just clarifying, we're meeting the 11th, the 18th, and the 25th?
It didn't say anything on the 25th. but
Okay.
No, you're
it's
meeting,
the-
yeah, 4th, 11th,
me-
and the 18th.
We're meeting the 11th and 18th. Okay, all right. And council is starting the airport process on the 24th.
That's right.
Right.
That's
So I'm just
correct.
going to renew my, I mean, just because it's a new year, I just want to throw these in the hopper. Would love to find a bike action and pedestrian action plan update for some time in the year 2023, because I know you all are overwhelmed. And also I want to renew my question about the Olympics. I mean, if we're talking about the airport, we actually are going to have the Olympics here sooner.
Right.
And I think it would be, I'm sure, I mean, I know you agree because I've talked to enough people in different jurisdictions. We really need more information from LA 2028. We need to know what Metro's thinking. We need to know what the county and the city are thinking and what we are planning. I think we ought to understand that. I know the Pier Bridge, I guess, is moving forward with the anticipated. That's expecting to be done by 2028, but it would be really helpful just to have a big picture view.
Yeah, and I've passed that along to the manager's office, and yeah, as soon as we have information to share, we will definitely bring that to the.
Okay, great. Thank you. And
Okay.
Chair, I have a question. I'm not sure if this is the right time to ask the planning manager or if it should be asked in public comment. It's not on our agenda and it's just a policy question.
Well, ask it and they'll
Okay.
you'll find out whether it's appropriate or not.
So I have been made aware with we're hoping that lots of people are going to be building ADUs. I have been made aware of a case where ADU construction led to a neighbor being blocked from their parking place. Code enforcement was called. Code enforcement said, no, that's a public works problem because it's an alley. And Public Works said that's sort of not our issue because it's private. So I'm wondering, as these projects move forward, as we're encouraging ADUs, I don't want to get into the specifics of any particular case because I don't know all the details. What expectations are set, and what should neighbors do who have questions about the construction that's happening near their properties, and or if there are potential conflicts with neighbors over the impacts of construction on themselves. When they're big projects, they come to us, we talk about these things, but on these smaller projects.
Commissioner Landers, are you talking about construction-related impacts where during construction it's blocking access?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's something we could definitely have code enforcement look into because they shouldn't be doing that. They should be staging in a way that doesn't impact the adjacent
That would
property
be
owners'
my
access.
impression. But apparently code enforcement said in this case that it was a public works issue, but that didn't sound right to me. So
Yeah, that doesn't sound right to me either. So
Okay.
I don't know if you have more information you could forward to me. I could look into it.
Okay.
That's definitely if it's construction-related impacts, code should be the one following it up.
But for the public in general, if there's that kind of concern, code enforcement is the phone number to call. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, terrific. Thank you.
All right.
Please build ADUs responsibly, everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, great. I think I'm going to lob one that I think is probably out of place as well and probably should go under, I think it's number 9, but I want to put it out there is since last week's meeting, there's been a small subcommittee of people who have written a letter regarding some of the changes we'd like to make to the housing element. We would like to make sure that that is on the agenda next week so we can discuss it. Should I bring that up again in section 9, or is that, can I make that request here?
So you're, you're saying that a small subset, not a quorum, obviously, of the Planning Commission, there's a subcommittee has written a letter,
That's
and
correct.
you would like to have it posted with the January 11th agenda for discussion?
That is correct. That was well said.
Okay.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
trying to say.
You can, unless you want to discuss it. I mean, it's not on the agenda. I think we've had this happen before where commissioners have forwarded that correspondence to us as staff, and indicate that you'd like to have it on the January 11th meeting, and then we can go ahead and do that.
Fantastic. You will see this tomorrow night or at the latest.
I have a question. What we're asking for, Jim, isn't it an action on the letter the Planning Commission approves submission to the City Council?
Yeah, we are. We're asking for the commission to approve that recommendation.
Right,
And we
right.
talked about it last week, so
Right.
it's just following through with that.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Planning Director, I think we are done badgering you tonight,
Okay.
but don't go too far.
Okay.
All right, thank you. So with that, I'm going to move forward in our agenda, and we have some other announcements that I need to make first. This is regarding public comment. Please note that on tonight's procedures for public comment, we are accepting real-time oral public comment by phone for each item. Please check the top of the posted agenda for the phone number to call once the caller queue has been opened, and the caller queue will open once the item is introduced, and the caller queue will close after the fifth public speaker has spoken. Written comments received up until noon today have been read by the commission. Comments received after 12 p.m. today will be considered part of the record of the proceedings, but will not be posted online with Planning Commission agenda. Another announcement related to the moderator chat function. This is for technical assistance only with administrative staff. You cannot communicate with the commission. The commission cannot communicate with it within itself through the chat function. This is only for technical assistance. Commissioners, do you have any other announcements for today? Not seeing any. We're going to keep moving along on the agenda. I don't see anything under items 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we're going to go to items 6A, which is at 925 Wilshire Boulevard. It's 21 ENT-0262 conditional use permit, consideration of an exemption under the California Environmental Quality Act. I'd like to open the caller queue at this moment. So there's a number at the top. And I'd also ask staff to give us a presentation. Commissioner Landris.
Before
I
the
have no ex
presentation,
parte.
yeah,
I don't have an ex parte, but I was wondering if there was anyone would second a motion to waive the staff report. But we haven't done ex parte, so
Okay,
maybe
my apologies. Does anybody have any ex parte communications? Commissioner Raskin, Vice Chair Raskin.
Yeah, thanks. With respect to ex parte disclosures, I'm on the Mid-City Neighbors neighborhood group email list, and I received 2 emails that were sent to their listserv that briefly discussed this project. And I just want to say for the record that I've included those emails in the official record of proceedings for this item. And I have been to the project site, but aside from that, I don't have any other ex parte to disclose.
Okay.
Yeah, I get the same emails, but I assume they're to the public. I'm glad that I didn't even notice that stuff was in there, so I'm glad that Commissioner Raskin, Vice Chair Raskin forwarded that on. I hadn't even noticed. But if there's nobody else, I would like to move that we waive the staff report.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Can we get a vote? Or unless there's discussion? Seeing no discussion, let's have a vote.
Commissioner Fonda Bernardi,
Yes.
Commissioner Fresco,
yes.
Commissioner Lambert,
Yes.
Commissioner Landris,
Yes.
Commissioner Tolkien,
Yes.
Commissioner Raskin,
Yes.
and Chair Reese.
Yes. Okay, with that, I think we're at the applicant's presentation. The applicant has, 15 minutes to present?
Yeah. Hello.
Hello. We hear
Hi,
you.
so I'm Alex Kahlberg. I'm the owner-operator of JP's. I'm from the area, born and raised. My family and I have been owning and operating since 1999, but it's actually at the old location with ours in the city, operating since like the 40s. Our plans to move were because our lease ran up and they had plans to demo the site. And we have a lot of local demographic. We have a lot of enthusiasm from the neighbors, and so we wanted to keep it in the area so that we could continue to serve and be an asset to the community in that area. As far as the business model, we hope to replicate pretty much the same model that we had up the streets, just in a larger and more updated facility. One of the main goals for me is to update the food because that was a little bit not as embellished as I'd like it to be in this new place. But for the most part, we're hoping to just continue our business as we were before, and be a responsible and accommodating member of the city.
Yeah, great.
And yeah, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer it. I know Carrie, I don't know if that was a staff report you guys were choosing to waive. There was some information in there about, we had a whole parking study done to show that we weren't an impact to the neighborhood or traffic. That study also concluded that the new marijuana shop coming in next door, we wouldn't be, impeding on each other's business hours, as our peak hours were actually going to be vice to each other and they close earlier. As well in there was, business, we had, what am I looking for? I had specs and plans for what the new bar was going to look at. I don't know if you guys were able to have at that.
Yeah, no, we looked at all of that and we read the staff report and decided that we understood it so well we could waive it. So I would suggest that if you have any concerns with the staff report or with any of the conditions, this would be a time to raise them.
Really, the only concern we had was there was a little bit of miscommunication as far as the hours. I had meant to say like at 1:30 is when we start kicking everyone out. It's last call, and then we, typically are closed by 1:45 so that we can meet our 2 o'clock goal. But I didn't really want to have the restriction to be closed at 1:30. And then on the other end, although our typical operating hours are 10 o'clock, that's when we typically open. During football season and college football, games start at 9 o'clock, so we usually open an hour earlier for that. And then on some rare occasions, there are, soccer matches and, the Olympics, like you guys had mentioned, things like that. We do open earlier, so I just wouldn't want it to be a condition that I wouldn't be allowed to operate at those hours because there are very uncommon circumstances, however few they are, that do come up to where we do want to have the availability to operate at those times,
Such as World Cup games that start at 5:30 in the morning.
We obviously adhere to state law, which says you can't serve before 6. But exactly, that would be a good example of, incidents that don't happen very often, but would be, fall under something that we would like to be able to show and serve for.
Well, that's an important one to bring up with us because as written, you would be limited in those hours and we'll have to have a discussion, and hear from public on that. Are there any other concerns that you had?
Outside of that, not particularly, no. I knew the way I phrased it, because I phrased it with last call, I just knew it was a little ambiguous.
Okay. All right, very good. Commissioners, do we have questions of the applicant right now? I see Commissioner Fonda Bernardi with a question. You're muted still.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Alex. Have you had a chance to read the public testimony regarding this project?
No, I did not.
Okay. Well, there's a number of neighborhoods who have indicated concern, neighbors who have indicated concern that this thing is going to be loud and rowdy and not going to help their neighborhood at all. And there's one neighbor who had made quite an extensive list of concerns. And I wanted to hear from you what you were doing to address typical concerns regarding patrons, smoking outside, gathering noises, interactions with homeless people, all those things that normally are associated with a bar activity that now is going to be considerably larger than before. Can you speak to that?
Sure. So one of our main concerns, which is noise, as you brought up, was we actually have plans to soundproof the new building so that we don't have any issues with neighbors behind us. On the other end, it's mostly just streets, so I don't see any issues really on that side. As far as gathering and stuff, we've always pushed, we have security. This is part of our security protocol. We've always pushed them to the Wilshire side, and in fact, we're going to push them further down towards the Bennings area to ensure no neighborhood impacts. I have plans on doubling my security because we're more than doubling the size of our establishments. So I'm going to have them constantly monitoring the outdoors, to make sure patrons are inside and not being, making too much noise. But my main goal to address that was soundproofing for the most part, which we have plans in our construction to do.
Okay.
And then as far as, like rowdiness and stuff, we've never had any sort of issues with that. Outside of typical bar things, at our previous location, our security staff handled it pretty well. My security manager is actually a longtime security manager on Sunset Boulevard, so he's pretty well trained, and he picks pretty good staff that know what they're doing pretty well.
And is that security manager or some staff there all the time that you're open?
So the way that we would do it is nighttime we would start it, not during the day, because typically myself or one of my other managers is there, and the demographics, the amount of people inside just aren't really warranted, However, if that's something that you guys would like, we can definitely change things to that. And for our higher capacity hours, we're actually looking to get a private firm just to make sure that, everything's done as best as possible.
So what would be a normal starting time for that security staff?
About 7 o'clock is typical, 7 till closing.
Okay. Is that something that you would be willing to have as part of your conditions of approval?
Absolutely, yeah. If that's a necessity to make everyone comfortable and, to accommodate everyone, that's perfectly fine.
Okay, thank you.
On that same issue, Commissioners, I want to just use my, I would like to jump in here. I think right now, if I remember the Stilla right, says that from 9:30 to close, you have to have that security Friday through Sunday. I really appreciate what I heard from you, that you were willing to start earlier. In the days when I used to go out, Thursday night was probably a bigger night than Sunday night, and I'm curious if the security is planned for that Thursday night, and or if you had a significant problem with us extending that requirement to Thursday night.
No, I have no problem with you extending it to that. Frankly, I don't know how the future demographics are going to play out at the new business. At our old bar, Thursday, Monday through Thursday was considerably less business than, the days that we had mentioned. I think that's why we brought those up. But if other days are concerned, we have no issue with that being, a condition.
I love your flexibility. Thank you.
Yes.
Commissioner Landers.
So I'm listening and I'm thinking about how we could provide more flexibility around your operating hours without disturbing the neighborhood. And I'm wondering if there is a way, because you're investing in soundproofing, but you are going to have this rear parking lot. I just want to understand, and staff, please jump in if there's something that you can clarify here. We hear concern that there's going to be spillover, right? I'm also imagining what happens if there's a future permit application for, using some part of the parking lot, since they don't have a parking requirement, basically, using some part of the parking lot for some sort of outdoor beer garden, which could start to impinge on the neighborhood. I'm trying to think forward a few steps. Is there a way that we could, and I'm asking the applicant this, could we find a way to say, yes, you could operate, you could start earlier in the morning and have some flexibility at night. I mean, it's the same morning, right? But as long as there is literally no way that anything is happening outside your building, right?
Yeah.
You're not giving people plastic cups that they can accidentally wander outside with. If in the future you apply for a beer garden, that would never be approved before, a reasonable morning hour. That if it's inside and it's soundproofed, like, I don't really mind. But I do want to be sensitive to what Commissioner Fonda Bernardi brought up, which is neighbors are worried. So the only way we're going to be able to help those neighbors, feel more comfortable is if they know that whatever's happening is only ever happening within the building.
Understood. So I have no plans for any sort of outdoor beer garden. As far as spillover, if you're talking about patrons, like I said, my security guard's a real stickler, and and we'll push everyone to the front. If parking is the spillover concern that you're discussing, we actually had a whole study done and like had a valet map made and things like that to accommodate the other businesses if we needed to. They actually weren't presented in the staff report because they were no longer necessary.
Right. No, I'm actually thinking about something that could go into the STOA that says there's some kind of quiet hour before 10 that would allow you to operate the bar, but like consistent with state law, but be really clear that you wouldn't be able to have, if there's noise outside, that's going to be a problem.
Plans of anything outdoors. So if a condition is that you can't operate outdoors, especially before 10 o'clock, I mean that's nothing that I've.
Yeah, that's what I'm going for. Yes.
Yeah. I mean I'm totally open to that, with the exception of if another COVID comes, I might be forced into pivoting into that parking lot. But outside of that, I have no plans on having outdoor space. I mean it's probably going to be based on my previous business model. The indoor space probably be more than necessary. So yeah, there's
okay.
Really all that concerned.
Let me request while staff is thinking about this, because we like to do our STOAs live, if staff can think about maybe there's some more specificity that we can add here that would achieve this, along with what Commissioners Fonda Bernardi and Chair Reese have raised. There's also a typo in the STOA, I believe.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm just going to throw this out there. Just no need to respond, but project-specific condition 4, I believe, should read 9 p.m. to 1:30 a.m. I believe that's what was intended because it matches project and specific condition 3. So
that was the intent. We caught that as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Cool. Yep. All right. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Okay. I have one more question for you, sir, from Commissioner Lambert.
Thank you. I believe I read in the staff report that there's no history of police activity at your pre-existing bar. Is that correct?
Yes.
And is there any history of noise complaints from neighbors?
No. I mean, for the last 3 years, we only had one neighbor, so that minimized it. But in the history before that, it was not very much.
I mean, basically, you're a sports bar, so you're contained in a building by definition, because that's where the TV screens are.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
A big part of our demographic is also pool players, so that's why I'm looking at more pool tables. But they also are.
I've actually played pool at your place.
Yeah. Oh, awesome.
Thank you.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Any other commission questions at this moment? Great, Alex. What we're going to do is we're going to open the public comment we're going to open comment period for the public and let them comment, and then you're going to have an opportunity to come back and respond to anything or to do any follow-up that you have.
Okay.
So at this point, I'll ask you to turn off your monitor, and I'm going to turn to public comment. If we could put the phone number back on the screen and give people a minute to call in. Maybe we already have a caller. We can get started.
We don't currently have any calls.
Okay, well, let's let this.
We did not receive any calls in that time.
Okay. Commission, I know it's the opportunity for the applicant to do a rebuttal, but I wanted to say we haven't asked staff any questions. You have questions of staff that might generate comments for the applicant. I know I had one, but I'm going to jump in and I'm going to ask staff. Staff, I'm a little the hours of operation seem a little different to me than when I was doing my first round with the Planning Commission a few years back. These are now standard. Are these now standard hours that we have where we're trying to keep consistent hours throughout the city? Because I remember back in my first stint on Planning Commission, we might have tailored the hours where they were a little more restrictive on that Sunday through Wednesday or Monday through Thursday. But this is a pretty consistent across the board. Is that a new policy? I believe I've heard that's a new policy since I've been back on the committee.
So I think you may be thinking alcohol exemptions. So those are for more restaurants that are providing alcohol service. There's kind of a standard application. This project, though, since this came on as a...
Carrie, you're cutting in and out.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me? Is this okay?
I hear you now, yes.
Okay. So the alcohol exemption application, which is what I thinking of, has standard hours for restaurants that are serving alcohol. Since this project came in as a conditional use permit, we were going off requests from the app. So there aren't standard hours in this findings for alcohol.
Okay, thank you very much. Yep. Commissioners, any other questions of staff while we're here? Not seeing any. I'm going to give the applicant one last chance to tell us something he has not told us yet or raise another concern. And you don't have to if you don't have anything.
No, I don't think I have any. I just wanted to thank you guys for taking the time to see me. I'm excited about it.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. We're going to close the public hearing and turn to commission discussion. Seems to me, commissioners, there's a couple of things that we need to talk about: the hours of operations and potentially security. Does anybody want to kick off that discussion? Commissioner Raskin, Vice Chair Raskin.
Yeah, with the hours of operation, I think I heard correctly that to provide maximum flexibility, we might want to look at making the hours of operation 7 a.m. to a.m. Was that correct?
You broke up. What did you say?
Oh, sorry. So on the beginning end, it sounds like there are some events that start as early as 7 a.m. Some early World Cup games, things like that. Was that correct?
Well, I think what I heard the applicant say was football. He was really focused on football. Starts at 9 in the morning on Saturday and Sunday. That's what he was focused on. But there are these random situations like the World Cup, which comes around every 4 years, where something comes earlier. I don't know that we can solve for something that starts at some odd time, but the football thing is fairly standard. So it seems like he's asking for relief there and a little bit on the end as well, where we're saying everyone's closed and everyone's out by 1:30. What I heard him say was, I want to be asking for last call at 1:30 and kicking everybody out at 1:45, closing my door at 2. I see the planning manager. Maybe she has.
Yeah, I think we can be a little bit helpful here, and I'll invite Carrie to come back on because we actually did receive some concrete requests from the applicant, and Carrie can probably run through that. That has to do with the 2 a.m. closure and staff's recommendation for that, and then also some proposed language with respect to the the special events. This opening earlier request that might help put some arms around this discussion.
Thank you.
Yeah. So can you all see these red lines for the conditions?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So as you can see from condition number 3, this is the permitted hours of operation. So this was adjusted to reflect the 10 to 1:30 Sunday through Thursday and the extended 10 to 2 a.m. Friday through Saturday. This also includes the exemption to open up earlier at 6 a.m. 12 times a year for special broadcast events. And that is also mirrored down here in condition number 4. That would require also that additional security patrolling the parking area, which we have from 7 to 2 a.m. During those. 7 to 2 a.m. Thursday through Sundays, just to mitigate any noise impacts from patrons parking area, and then also applying that security requirement in the parking area for those 12 events here, starting at 6 a.m. through 10 a.m.
Gary, I'm still having a little trouble hearing you. Tell me the last part, the security at 6 a.m. I didn't quite.
Yeah, sorry about that. So we also included the requirement for a security officer to patrol the parking area during those special events from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m.
So it seems to me that this addresses everything they wanted except for the 9 a.m. college football on Saturday.
So that would fall within it. So the provision is to allow this up to 12 times a year, starting at 6 a.m. that they'd be able to open. And then also,
can I ask how you arrived at 12 times a year? I mean, it feels like if they're monitoring their parking lot for noise, do we care how many times a year this happens?
Yeah, that's something the commission can change. This was also from the request from the applicant.
I'll tell you, Commissioner Landers, I would be more comfortable allowing a 9 a.m. start Saturday and Sunday than unlimiting their number of 6 a.m. starts.
That works for me.
Okay.
Can you say that again, Jim? I didn't understand what you just said.
I said I would be more comfortable allowing them to start operations Saturday and Sunday at 9 a.m. than giving them kind of a carte blanche how many 6 a.m. starts they get.
Yes, I agree with that.
So you're saying they can never watch the World Cup at 6 a.m.?
No, I'm not. I'm saying we limit them to the 12 they asked for, but not say unlimited.
I'm sorry. Did they ask for 12 or did they ask for 12?
That's what.
Yes, that was a request from the applicant.
Okay.
I think what we're hearing from the commission is that in terms of regular hours, and you maybe just made that change there in condition 3, is the Friday through Saturday. It's the 9 a.m. to 2 a.m. as opposed to the 10 a.m. So it's an earlier start.
Yeah.
It's Saturday and Sunday, not Friday and Saturday.
Ah, okay.
I guess
I'm asking for 12.
I'm just doing the math, and I'm not a sports person, so forgive me, and somebody just stop me if I'm missing something entirely. You've got
college football would eat up all 12 if they.
Yeah, well, right. So that's the 9 a.m. But what about like in terms of World Cup games, or you never have the Olympics in the same year as a World Cup, right? Is there a year where you would end? Is there a year where they'd blow through their 12? That's what I'm wondering about.
Can I talk to them or no?
Yeah.
Okay. Excuse me, guys, can you hear me now?
Alex, we did close. I'm going to open real.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Go ahead and tell us what your comment.
Oh, I just wanted to clarify. The 12 was really more of just an estimate of how many times that we would or. You're absolutely right with the 9 o'clock thing, and that would be perfectly fine, that provision. 9 o'clock is the standard time for football, and there's far more than 12. I mean, there is 12 weeks, so I'm looking for that as like a standard earliest time so that I can just open with regular hours when that occurs. And then 6 a.m., I mean, it's very rare that there's an NFL London game, so I just put that number as I can't imagine more than 12 a year ever occurring.
No, but I'm thinking like when was France Morocco?
I know, but he's comfortable with the 12.
No, that's fine. I'm as soccer increases in popularity, I don't want to have him come back here because he's short 6 times. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, yeah. So I don't have enough information as to the soccer schedule and things like that to really give an accurate estimate for that. But typically, in my previous experience, and you're absolutely right, soccer is becoming more popular. But at most we would do like 5, at most, at 6 in the morning. So it was just, I was just sort of giving myself some leeway with the dozen, honestly. So
you got it. That's great. I just want to I just don't want to have you have to come back here because that's expensive.
Absolutely, yeah, no, I appreciate that. Thank you. And I'm sorry to chime in,
All right.
And then just one more thing, as Jim mentioned, as far as the 1:30 as last call and everyone out by 2, that is what I was trying to articulate. I misspoke on my application with the 1:30. I thought that I wrote last call, but that is what I meant. Last call, 1:45, everyone out, so that we can be sure by 2 the place is empty. That's all.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, yep. Sorry to interrupt. Apologies.
Commissioner Fonda Bernardi, I see you patiently waiting.
I'm comfortable with this. I don't think that with the 9 o'clock start covering football and the 12 times a year covering everything else. It could be soccer, it could be the Winter Olympics, it could be the Summer Olympics, it could be, you name it. There'd be a lot of ways that they would use up those 12 times a year, starting possibly as early as 6. And I like the new security elements, so I'm ready to move the question.
Okay, hold that thought. I don't want you to go too far away, but I got Vice Chair Raskin and then Commissioner Tolkien after that.
Yeah, sorry. I think I saw in one of the last edits that were happening live on the screen that it went back to a 1:30 a.m. closing time on Saturday and Sunday.
No, I think what we heard is, so I guess it would be good to get clarity on the closing time on Saturday, because it was 10 a.m. to 1:30 a.m. Monday through Friday. For Friday, there's a closing time of 1:30. We originally had it on Friday and Saturday was a 10 to 2.
Yeah,
but you wanted
originally.
right, and you wanted an earlier opening time on Saturday and Sunday. Sunday's original closing time was 1:30. So we typically have like Sunday to Thursday, Friday, Saturday is usually how we've sort of grouped together days of the week for UPs like this. So I think we just wanted clarity on opening and closing times for those, like weekend days, those higher volume days.
Okay, can we ask you one more time, staff, to put that language on the screen so we know exactly what we're doing and that we're giving you the right direction?
Right. I'll go ahead and share my screen, actually.
Yeah, I'm locked out, Jane. Thank you.
Okay, yep. See that.
Right.
So the permitted hours. So I think we're just trying to sort out what the commission wants to do here. We have 10 to 1:30 Monday through Friday now, if that is correct. 9 to 2 on Saturday and 9 to 1:30 on Sunday.
I don't think. I think what the applicant was actually looking for was that Friday was open until
Right.
2 a.m.
Okay. Do you want to allow the earlier start time on Friday as well?
I don't think it's relevant because they're not playing football at 9 o'clock on Friday.
That would be Monday through Thursday.
And then Friday and Saturday would be at 10 a.m. Would Friday? No, you got it. That's right. And then 9 a.m. would be Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
9 a.m. to. Yeah, I'm okay with this. Creates a little bit of a hodgepodge, but I think it's fine. And you might be able to streamline it, Jing, by just instead of putting Sunday at the. Oh, never mind. You can't do that. I take it back. Commissioners, does everybody understand this and comfortable with this?
Looks good.
Okay, Commissioner Vice Chair, that addresses your question, correct?
It does, yeah. Thank you.
Okay, and then Commissioner Tolkien, you had a comment or question.
Yeah, I just a general question about the food service. My understanding of reading the staff report is that they're responsible to have food served with the alcohol, but it's a little hard to do at pool tables. What kind of food are they serving?
Well, we could ask the applicant to come back, but let me just take a stab at this. Is that when if I played pool and I was eating food, the food would be at a counter next door or a table next door, and it's a full.
That's right.
Right.
Well,
so they're not actually eating on the table, but they have to get a table on the pool table, but they have a dining table to eat on or a bar.
Okay.
Okay, commissioners, I am not seeing any more comments at this point. So I'd like to get a motion and a second.
I'll second Commissioner Fonda Bernardi's motion that he made a minute ago.
With the
Okay.
changes and the
Yeah.
all your friendly amendments.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all
Fantastic. Let's have a roll call vote.
Okay, so that was Commissioner Fonda Bernardi, second by Commissioner Landris
Correct.
for approval of the CUP subject to the changes to conditions number 3 and number 4 as we just showed on the screen. I'll show it again just for absolute clarity here. In terms of hours of operation and then the special events and the security plan. And then I also want to note that we heard in your discussion this new condition, no outdoor seating area for the establishment may be permitted on the subject property. Is that accurate as well? Okay.
No outdoor seating area for the establishment may be permitted on the subject property, not during a publicly declared health emergency.
Okay.
Well, if
said
it's
it.
a publicly declared health emergency, then it's there.
Exactly. Except during, yeah, there you go. Except during a declared health emergency.
Okay.
Yeah. There you go. There you go.
In terms of this sorry, I think we actually forgot to ask this question. So regarding the security personnel, there's actually two parts. The part about 7 p.m. to 2 a.m. is about monitoring the rear parking lot. In terms of the daily basis, I think I heard that you wanted that 7 p.m. start time to also apply on the daily basis as well, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, the applicant offered, and that makes sense to us, and we're trying to protect the community's peace of mind.
Yep, 7 p.m. We'll just add that in.
And then I'm just going to double check before we lock this. Looking for all of the instances of 130. That's in PSC 3, which you revised. Have you revised PSC 4?
Yeah.
To reflect that's the security personnel monitoring. Yeah, then we're good.
Okay, great. Stop sharing my screen. Great. We'll do a roll call.
We got Vice Chair.
Sorry, I just got one quick clarifying question. Is there any chance that this new condition would include the establishment of a parklet if they wanted to have parklet seating?
That's the outdoor seating, which is noisy, which is what we don't want to allow. It's a health.
So in terms of, yeah,
not parking lot, you're in the street.
Yeah, it would preclude allowing it, under the private outdoor space program forthcoming on private property. Parklets, I mean, it so happens on Wilshire the traffic speed is actually too high for a parklet anyways, so it wouldn't even be allowed anywhere on Wilshire.
Okay, thanks.
I think just to clarify, it sounds like it would limit their ability to do this on private property, but they would not be barred from doing it on public property. So if they, I'm just making something up, wanted to go and open a beer garden in Reed Park, legally there would be no bar in this to do that.
Yeah, but they have no CUP.
Great idea.
They have no CUP. That's not a good that's not a good analogy. Let's move on with the vote, please.
Okay. Commissioner Fonda Bernardi?
Yes.
Commissioner Fresco?
Yes.
Commissioner Lambert?
Yes.
Commissioner Landris?
Yes.
Commissioner Tolkien?
Yes.
Commissioner Raskin?
Yes.
And Chair Reese?
Yes.
Do we need to move the STOA, or did we just do them both?
Did them both.
Fabulous.
Okay, so that item is done. We thank the applicant for their time and wish them good luck with their business and urge them to be protective of their neighbors. We're going to move on. We have no more public hearings for tonight. We have nothing under resolutions or written communications. I'll ask planning commissioners, do you have any discussion items that you want to bring up? And I think we'll just reiterate what Commissioner Lander said earlier. We'd like to learn more about the Pike Action Plan and about the Olympics. Anybody have anything else to add to that? Mr. Fonda Bernardi?
Well, I'd like to add a general thought, which is, we've spent a lot of time on the housing element, and we really have not done anything to advance the agenda of sustainability. And one of the issues would be, right off the bat, I can think 3 or 4, but I was hoping that somewhere along the way we could do them as a package, as a comprehensive thing. And I'll throw in the tree ordinance as one part of that comprehensive package. So I'm just putting that out there, and that it is coming down the pike, and we should be active in that regard. It looks like, for instance, just our bridge onto the pier will be colliding with sea level rise. So there's a whole bunch of issues like that that we need to get ahead of before we get overrun. So I'm just throwing it out there for your consideration. Not making any specific at this time, but it's coming.
Great. Okay. Well, I would be interested in that as well. Okay, we're going to move on unless I hear anything. Anybody else want to raise something? We're going to move to public comment on items that are not on our agenda. So I'll ask staff to put up the 1-minute clock with the phone number to call in. And request that the community call in if they have an item they want to talk to us about that is not on our agenda.
We did not receive any calls.
Okay. Well, commissioners, I'm going to join the meeting early tonight at 6:26 and urge you all to rest up because next week is a busy week for us. And I hope you have a great week and stay dry, and talk to you later.